Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 21 of the Giro d'Italia, the last stage of 2022 Giro. Now it's 17.4 kilometers, and the organizers designed a fantastic time trial stage here. It's flat to begin with. They'll start to climb up 4.5 kilometers, just over 5%, and then the first time check on today's stage will be at the summit. They'll bomb down the descent, and then the descent is a little bit wet in some places, dry in others, so they got to be a little bit careful, but it's not crazy technical. They'll come off the descent. They got about 3 kilometers to go. When they reach the river, they'll run along the river a little bit, cross over the bridge, pass through some cobblestones, and then the last 1K has a sharp left turn and then a chicane that'll exit the riders with 300 meters before today's finish line. Really beautiful time trial course to decide who's going to win the Giro for 2022. Now, when we started this last stage here, we know Jai Hindley is the race leader. He's got a 25-second advantage over Richard Carapaz after a spectacular stage yesterday on stage 20 summit finish. And in the interview, Jai Hindley said that as soon as he knew he had the gap, he just went all in 100% all the way to the line to try to win this Giro d'Italia. It was a fantastic day of racing yesterday. Now, before we get more into this time trial stage today, I want to bring one thing up about yesterday. Many times the commentators throughout yesterday's stage, they had talked about how the stage was a little bit boring. The action wasn't happening on that last 15-kilometer climb. They were talking about how Ineos had the light stuff up and how everything was just a little bit subdued throughout the stage. That wasn't my opinion of the stage. I was looking at it more as it was just building up energy, and then, of course, that marvelous explosion with 5 kilometers to go. But when you go all the way back to the beginning of stage 20 kilometers into it, you had that 15-rider breakaway that was just blowing up all over the place with each of the last 2 mountains to pass. And then when you go to the GC favorites, for me personally, that's what makes the Giro and the Vuelta so special. Because you don't have teams that are packed in massive depth. So you don't have 5, 6, 7, 8 riders still left on the last climb, just drilling it up the last climb as one rider pulls off, dropping the race leader off at 1K, 2K to go, and then he solos and puts massive time on everyone. When you look at the Giro and you look at the Vuelta, what is so amazing is that because the teams are weaker, they have to be perfect with their tactics. Now, yesterday with Team Ineos, when we see the interview today with their director, Christian Nies, he talks about how they raced a perfect race yesterday. And it was perfect, except for, in my belief, there was no reason for Team Ineos at that point in time at 5 kilometers to go to really start attacking and putting Sivakov on the front to blow the field up. Richard Carapaz, I gotta believe at that point in time, because of all the talk of people have to win a stage. If you're going to win the general classification, you have to win a stage too, right? So I believe that was putting pressure on Ineos and Richard Carapaz, because if you're not 100%, why would you change the pace of the front group up there? Now, we all know Ineos did. Jai Hindley lit it up and put a 1 minute and 25-second gap on Richard Carapaz. So when we start today's stage 21 here at the Giro d'Italia, 17.4 kilometers long, Jai Hindley's gap is just going to be too massive for Richard Carapaz. So we got to look at the other general classifications between second and third and go Carapaz and Landa and see that battle at 25 seconds. And, of course, when you take those guys out of the picture, because they're not going to win today's stage, we got to talk about the favorites that could win today's individual time trial, because they're going to be different than the GC favorites, right? You have Eduardo Affini here from Jumbo-Visma, Matthew van der Poel, of course, from Alpecin Phoenix. You're going to have Bike Exchange. Michael Hettner is there, and then Matteo Sobrero, the Italian national time trial champion. You got to put those guys in the watch on who's going to win today's stage. And so they go off a bit earlier than the GC favorites. So that means you got to wake up earlier to get on the couch and get your breakfast going, because you got to watch the beginning of the race, and then that'll blend into the finish for the GC favorites here. Now, when the racing starts, it's Michael Hettner, Bike Exchange, that's in the hot seat, but out on the course is Eduardo Affini from Jumbo-Visma, and he was one of the 5-star favorites to win today's last stage of the Giro d'Italia. He'll come through the line, though, not with a solid time. So Jumbo-Visma's Eduardo Affini, who lives only about 40 minutes from this course, has a disappointing ride. But next up to cross the line is going to be Magnus Cort Nelson from EF Education. Now, Magnus Cort Nelson came out of the blue here. No one expected this, and he put in a solid ride going about 6 seconds faster than Michael Hettner. Mateo Sobrero leaves the ramp, and while he's leaving the ramp, it's Matthew Van Der Poel warming up for today's last stage time trial here at the Giro. Now, out on the course is Mario Schmid from Quick-Step. If you remember right, he was leading going into that final corner when it was Bauman that came through and cut off his front tire to win that stage. That was a great stage to watch, but who would have thought Mario Schmid was putting on a good time trial? He's rolling up the road. He'll come across to take the hot seat here on today's last stage of the Giro d'Italia. Behind, though, is Mateo Sobrero. He was flying on the pedals. He comes through the first time check 41 seconds up on all the riders in front of him. The Bike Exchange rider is flying. Guys, he was passing riders like they were standing still. He was blazing on the pedals. Through all the corners, he was taking maximum risk. Looking beautiful. His posture on the bike was fantastic. Always going with speed. Now, when he crosses the finish line, he'll put himself in the hot seat 1 minute and 17 seconds faster than Mario Schmid from Bike Exchange. That'll put Mateo Sobrero into the hot seat solid with that kind of time. But remember, Matthew Van Der Poel is out on the course. When we come through the first time check for Matthew Van Der Poel, though, he's down 39 seconds. Now, he's going down the descent after the first time check, and he's catching two Movistar riders with Arceus and Barta right in front of him. He's getting a 2-for-1 pass deal right here from Movistar. He'll fly down the descent, so you start wondering how fast is Matthew Van Der Poel going. When he crosses the line, though, it's only good enough for second. He can't dislodge Mateo Sobrero up there from Bike Exchange, and he's 40 seconds off Mateo's time. At that point in time, when you're sitting on the couch, you're like, oh yeah, the GC guys are not winning today's stage. But there is still one more guy out on the course that could possibly dislodge Mateo Sobrero from Bike Exchange, because Tinman Arensman from DSM is flying too. Now, he goes through the time check, still down on Mateo Sobrero's time, but he'll cross the finish line and put himself in second place, about 25 seconds back on the Bike Exchange rider. Now, the Bike Exchange rider, Mateo Sobrero, he's going to roll into the Verona Arena, which was a spectacular spot to finish here. This really caught me off guard. I've never seen anything done quite like this. The organizers here of the Giro d'Italia set up an amazing arena here at the finish line in Verona, and each rider, as they finished, even if they're exhausted, they'll send them through the stadium there, so you'd have to cross the finish line like Mateo Sobrero did, hop on your bike, and then continue into the stadium. Difficult task to do when you've been going maximum for 17.4 kilometers, 22 minutes and 24 seconds was Mateo Sobrero's time, and he only had about 60 seconds to recover in order to get him through into the arena to start sitting in the hot seat. Now, behind in the GC favorites, we're going to see the veterans go off, Alejandro Valverde, but when he crosses the finish line, he's waving to the crowd, so you know he didn't go 100%. Vincenzo Nibali, the Italian rider, like I said, this is his last Giro d'Italia. He'll finish today's race down on time. Juan Lopez, Trek Segafredo rider who wore the jersey for about 10 days here at the Giro, he goes off, and he's setting a bad time up there, and it's going to be EF Education's Hugh Carthy that'll set a solid time here on this last and final stage, and it'll move him from 10th into 9th place, one spot over Juan Lopez. Now, when we start talking about the top three, because that's what we really tuned in here to see, right? Mikel Landa leaves the ramp. He's going up the climb, and when he goes through the first time check, we see that the Spanish rider is down on time. Behind him, we got two riders storming. Richard Carapaz left the ramp solid in his TT position. He's going 100% up this climb out of the saddle, going like crazy. Behind, Jai Hindley, completely the opposite. Going the same speed, but completely the opposite in his body language. He's sitting in the TT position the first part of the climb. We'll start seeing the time checks between Carapaz and Jai Hindley. Carapaz is up by 4 seconds over pink jersey wearer Jai Hindley. Now, when they crest the top, the KOM, Jai Hindley did a spectacular job. Like I said, he was smooth through the beginning of the climb. The second parts of the climb, we start seeing him getting out of the saddle, putting power to the pedals more often. When he crosses the top, the KOM here, he's only 1 second back on Richard Carapaz up front. Carapaz going 100% down the descent, taking risk every which way he possibly can. When he gets down to the river, he's still in the TT position, looking solid, and you can tell Carapaz from Team Ineos wants still to get a shot at winning that pink jersey here on the last stage of the Giro d'Italia, even though he's 1 minute 25 seconds down on general classification. You got to remember, it's his birthday, so he's going all in. It's either going to be a bad birthday or a fantastic one. At the finish line, he's sprinting for the line, throws his bike to the line to save every bit of time he can. Now, with that finish from Richard Carapaz, we're going to go back to Jai Hindley because Richard Carapaz had a solid time, finishing 10th overall on today's stage. So you know the time was solid up there to Mateo Sobrero, who's still in the hot seat. There's only one rider left in today's stage. His name is Jai Hindley, and he's 2 kilometers from today's finish. He'll go across the bridge, he'll get on the cobblestones, and you see him switch out of the arrow position onto his handlebars, making sure he's safe all the way through these cobblestones. When he goes under 1 kilometer, you know he's got a solid time. He goes into the final hard left turn, takes that at a good speed, but not too risky, goes through the chicane with just about 400 meters to go and exits at 3. Now he's back on the pedals, starting to smile as he comes to the line, crosses the finish line, and knows he is the 2022 Giro d'Italia champion. Congratulations, Jai Hindley from Australia. Fantastic win, especially when you look at losing the jersey 2 years ago while wearing pink in the time trial. Today, he was fantastic. Didn't have to take any risk, but you can tell his form was something spectacular because Carapaz was going 100%, and like I said, finished 10th on today's stage. Jai Hindley only lost about 7 seconds to Richard Carapaz to hold on to that pink jersey. After Jai Hindley crosses the finish line, he'll roll up to one of his team members. He'll switch bikes onto a pink bike and then roll across onto the pink carpet into the Arena of Verona. Now, this was a spectacular shot here. Pink carpet, pink bike, and a pink jersey for Jai Hindley to win here at the Giro d'Italia. He'll roll up to the podium, and we'll see that it's Mikel Landa sitting 3rd, Richard Carapaz 2nd from Team Ineos, and Jai Hindley on the top step. A fantastic Giro d'Italia victory here on the overall classification. Now, Mateo Sobrero, congratulations on a fantastic Stage 21 individual time trial and bike exchange win in both of the TTs here at the Giro d'Italia, and Simon Yates winning a road stage to go along with it. Bike exchange were solid. Up on today's podium for the stage is going to be our Insman finishing 2nd, 25 seconds back. Matthew van der Poel was 3rd on the stage, 40 seconds back. On that would come to the points classification, we all know it was Arnaud Demar from FDJ who won the point sprints competition here at the Giro. And then the youth jersey will go to Juan Lopez, who spent more than a week in the pink jersey during the Giro d'Italia early on. Fantastic Giro d'Italia throughout this whole 3 weeks. It was a marvelous month of racing here in Italy. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. There's more bike races to come. It's Dauphiné coming up, Tour of Swiss coming up, and of course the Tour de France is coming in just about a month's time. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect.